You see now. You see now.
Mr. President.
Mr. President. No, you can't do this.
I'm speaking, man. Wait. Why have you been rude like that? And you have been rude for too long, man. I'm speaking.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving headfirst into a truly explosive situation, a particularly chaotic session of the Pan-African Parliament. We've got this transcript.
Yeah.
It's from a YouTube video, actually,
Okay.
titled, "I Will Kill You Myself." MALEMA'S explosive exchange leaves Parliament in fear. You know, from the Swahili Nation channel.
Wow. Okay. That title certainly sets a tone.
It really does. So our mission here, basically, is to cut through all the shouting, try and understand the core conflicts, the procedural breakdowns.
Figure out what actually happened there.
Exactly. What turned this sitting into such a mess? What really lit the fuse, so to speak?
Right. And that title, well, it promises drama, and it sounds like the transcript delivers.
Oh, it does.
What's immediately striking, just from the description, is the level of disorder. It doesn't sound like a calm debate at all.
Not even close. It's more like a political powder keg that just went off.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Right from the start, the transcript reads like, well, like you said, chaos. Everyone's trying to talk at once.
Constant interruption.
Constant, and the chair is just repeatedly calling for order, almost begging.
Trying to hold the line.
Yeah. And amidst all this, you have Julius Malema from South Africa intervening. It says, "Proceed, Honorable MMA."
Okay, so trying to restore some procedure there.
It seems like it. Like someone's trying to inject some semblance of, parliamentary process into the mayhem.
But what's fascinating here, it sounds like, is how quickly the central issue becomes the legitimacy of the leadership body, the Bureau.
Yes, exactly. Malema apparently states very directly their term ended May 9th.
Right.
And insists it's time for fresh elections, period.
No waiting around.
No. He dismisses any suggestion of waiting for, like, an activity report.
Yeah.
Sees it as a tactic.
A delaying tactic to cling to power.
That seems to be the implication, like trying to rule from the grave, as the transcript seems to suggest he put it.
Strong words, but then there's a counter-argument, right?
Right. Then another member chimes in, bringing up COVID-19, the extraordinary circumstances.
Ah, the pandemic factor.
Yeah. The argument is basically, look, the existing rules, they just weren't designed for a global pandemic that shuts everything down.
Okay, that's a fair point. Unprecedented times.
So they argue the acting bureau should stay put until they can present their report.
Makes sense from a continuity perspective, maybe?
They even use this analogy, like a president staying in office until the successor is sworn in.
Okay.
So you've got this real tension, haven't you, between sticking rigidly to the rules
and trying to be pragmatic because of this huge unforeseen crisis. Yeah.
It really raises a fundamental question, doesn't it? How much flexibility should institutions have?
Exactly. When faced with something genuinely unforeseen, on one side, term limits are crucial, accountability, stopping groups from digging in.
Definitely.
But on the other, well, arguing for continuity during a crisis, that speaks to stability, avoiding disruption.
Right. And the fight over the activity report,
Mm-hmm.
it really highlights different priorities.
Is it the election timetable first? Or is it due process, getting that report discussed?
And this is where it gets really interesting, because the debate then shifts to this principle of rotation for leadership positions. This seems to be a real flashpoint.
Ah, rotation. Yes, that's often contentious in international bodies.
The argument for it is, it's vital for unity, keeps things fair across the continent.
Prevents any one region from dominating the parliament.
Exactly. And we even hear, according to the transcript, a West African parliamentarian worried about a group trying to grab control and openly supporting a candidate from West Africa, ironically enough, given the context.
Okay, so regional politics are flaring up, but what's significant there is the accusation against the Western Caucasus.
Yeah, the Francophone countries specifically, using their numbers.
The tyranny of numbers, as it's sometimes called.
That's the phrase used to consistently get the leadership roles.
Right, so that points to these deep-seated regional dynamics, doesn't it? A feeling of imbalance within the PAPI itself.
Absolutely. Building a truly Pan-African institution, it bumps up against these historical power issues,
right?
Regional interests.
And these caucuses, these regional blocs, they wield real political influence.
But then you get the opposing view,
which is
that this whole rotation principle it isn't even properly applicable yet,
Why not?
because not all the member countries have actually ratified the protocol that establishes it.
Ah, the legal technicality. So it's not formally enforced for everyone.
Seems to be the argument.
Yeah.
And then things really escalate.
How so?
Accusations start flying that those opposing rotation, they're actually serving imperialism.
Wow. That's a heavy charge.
Trying to sow division in Africa. It's pretty inflammatory language in that setting.
It really underscores the high stakes, doesn't it? For those who back rotation, it's not just about taking turns.
It's more fundamental.
It seems tied to that historical struggle, anti-colonialism, the ideal of a unified, equitable Africa.
So calling opponents agents of imperialism, that's a powerful way to frame it.
Yeah, to delegitimize their arguments, frame it as about African sovereignty itself.
And all through this, this intense debate about leadership, rotation, imperialism, there's this constant barrage of point of order interruptions.
The procedural weapon.
It sounds like it was used constantly, and often, apparently, without even saying which rule was being broken.
Just shouting, point of order.
Pretty much. The chair is clearly struggling, just saying again and again, you need to cite a specific rule.
Yeah, that kind of procedural breakdown, it often reflects deeper tensions, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, if parliamentarians feel ignored, or that the process is unfair, they might resort to disruption. Constant points of order are a classic tactic.
So the chair's struggle just highlights how out of control things were.
It's just a real battle to maintain any parliamentary decorum.
And we also hear about a complaint from a member from Egypt.
What about
Her
that?
name being left off the list of speakers.
Oh, well, that just adds to the feeling of disorganization, or maybe even perceived bias in how things were run.
Could be. And then there's this almost exasperated statement someone makes.
What's that?
No one is going to ask any teacher questions here. We're parliamentarians.
Oh, that really speaks volumes, doesn't it?
About wanting respect as equals.
Absolutely. It suggests a resistance to being talked down to any perceived hierarchy. These are representatives of nations.
And they're demanding that status be recognized.
Exactly. You can see the potential for friction if they feel it isn't.
But then things really take a dark turn. It goes beyond procedure.
Okay.
The transcript shows it descending into just outright insults, liar, demons.
Oh dear, that's not parliamentary language.
Not at all. The chair is desperately trying to get retractions, apologies. But then comes this really shocking moment.
What happened?
A member reportedly threatens to kill another colleague.
Kill. Seriously?
Yes, after they left the chamber. This was announced by another member who apparently even pointed a finger while talking about it.
Good grief. That's beyond chaotic. That's genuinely alarming. Absolutely. An explicit death threat. That's a terrifying escalation. A complete collapse of norms.
Raises serious safety concerns, surely.
Definitely. And the fact it was voiced publicly in the plenary and the calls for the chair to address it, it just highlights how severe it was.
It moves it way beyond political disagreement.
Into something potentially much, much more dangerous, yes.
So how does it all end? This session.
Predictably, maybe.
With the chair just adjourning the House, saying there's no way to maintain
It's
order.
gonna pull a plug.
But even after the adjournment is announced, the shouting continues. Points of order still being called out.
Just complete pandemonium, then.
Sounds like it.
It's a sadly fitting end, isn't it, to what seems like a deeply fractured, acrimonious session?
The fact it continued after adjournment just shows how deep the issues ran.
Yeah, the animosity, the underlying problems, clearly far from resolved.
So, okay, let's try and bring it all together. This deep dive into the transcript. It reveals a session just overwhelmed, really. Procedural disputes, these fundamental disagreements on leadership, rotation versus numbers.
Conflicting regional interest boiling over.
And then descending into personal attacks and that truly shocking death threat.
It's quite a picture. But it's vital to remember, as you said earlier, this is based on the transcript alone.
Right. There's context we're missing.
Undoubtedly. A whole history, personal relationships, background context that would give even deeper understanding.
Still, this whole episode, it really makes you think, doesn't it? What does this level of discord, this intensity, suggest about the bigger challenges?
For continental unity, for effective governance in Africa. Yeah.
What are the wider implications when parliamentary decorum breaks down like this? For the institution's legitimacy?
And its ability to actually tackle the critical issues the continent faces. Huge questions.
It definitely gives you a lot to consider. Maybe, take some time to explore the pet peeves history, its current work, the different views on these really complex issues.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for taking this deep dive with us.